welcome everybody to our first in February. We have a full agenda and a few carryover items in our open forum. I'd hope to not have the first meeting of the month, but circumstances overtook us as they do. I would ask everybody, as the Zoom card is in play, to limit any crosstalk, cell phone usage, or background noise. So with that, we'll do our pledge of allegiance and followed by the roll call. We're up there.
Maybe, I'm looking.
Oh, yeah, look there. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next, I'd like to do introductions and by way of roll call. Jeffrey Goodman, I'm currently serving as the president of the HOA. Jill and I have been moved in the community in April of 24, so we're coming up on a lot of years. And we're thrilled to be here. We got a lot of good stuff to do this year. John?
John Tomei, Vice President of the Board. Carol and I are starting our 8th year here in Trilogy.
Helen Hodak, Bill and I have been here for 4.5 years, going forensic, and I am the treasurer.
It's Cindy Scanlon. Michael and I have been in the community since 2020. No, it's been 10. It's been a minute. I do community safety.
Joe Young, one of the directors, doing a lot of work on infrastructure.
Hi, my name is Jamie Walls. I am your general manager and I work for the Management Trust.
Hi, I'm Stacey Court. I'm the assistant general manager and I also work for the Management Trust.
Before we get to the minutes, I've got a few announcements I'd like to make. One is in our planning meeting, I made a inappropriate wisecrack from the table here, and I apologize for that. It was not right, and I'll be more careful with my words moving forward. Second thing I'd like to announce is that the Zoom recording we had for that took place at the January 30th planning meeting, the file ended up becoming, excuse me, on the board meeting, I'm sorry. The file was corrupted, so we don't have a digital record of that, and we apologize for that. It was the first time in 4 years we've had any issues with Zoom. We put a new process in place to, back that up going forward, but we had the Blue Star, excuse me, the TMT IT people look at it, as well as Jamie looked at it, the Zoom people. So we apologize for that, but IT stuff is a little mystery sometimes. The Zoom card, as you can see, we're using that today, and it's the 4th time we're using it, and we're continuing to fine tune it. Pretty soon we'll be able to connect it to the speakers in this room. We're getting close on that, so another milestone there will successfully be able to hear better when the room fills up. I think we're fine with this crowd today. So that's that. And then lastly, the process that we follow is the board members decide the things they want to have on the agenda. Jamie and I kind of cull through those and make sure we're all doing it right. And we try and get it to Jamie by late Thursday so she can put it in the packet, the board packet, the member packet for Friday. I was late this time on something that I had forgot to ask Jamie to include, and I asked John to include something else. So my apologize to the community and the board. We try and get it done timely, but sometimes we just don't. So with that, I'd like to have a motion to approve the minutes for the 28th and for February 3rd.
So moved.
Second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The motion has been adopted. In case you had a question, as I did, there are no minutes taken of the planning meeting because there's no decisions made there. It's just a meeting, so we take notes. Stacey does a good job taking notes on that. So we'll move into we have no appeals, which is generally the format for the purpose of this meeting. But this time we don't have any appeals. So Jamie, would you like to walk us through the open forum process, please?
All right, I'm gonna go over some of the ones that we received via email first. We have an email from Patricia Jones. She says, "What's going on with the members being charged for restaurant pool purchases they never made, and what is being done to stop it? Why should we all have to pay for mistakes that should not be occurring? Servers may think that they remember numbers and names, but it should not be how they apply to the bill. A member should always be asked to provide their number to the server. It has happened to me many times, and in talking with other members, it seems to be happening a lot." Number two is, it seems the time to have the automatic 18% tip added to our member charges, sign and add, should be over. On many occasions, we never receive our bill at the restaurant to sign and add our own tip. Sometimes I want to tip more, and other times the service is so bad I don't want to leave an 18% tip. Bluestar needs to figure out a better way for servers to get members their bill in a more timely manner and not wait for the customer to ask for it and have to wait so long to get it that we finally do get up and leave. 3, regarding the flashing light at the Sonoma gate, it won't help. Drivers from inside and outside from the community just don't care. We all need to make the effort to look both ways before proceeding to make sure others see you and stop. I've encountered this at many intersections in the community. You cannot make people change their ways, and a flashing light won't do a thing. And last is, I would like to see a detailed report showing results of what benefits having the license plate readers has produced for the community.
On that one, I will forward that issue to Stephen, and I'll ask him to kind of give us a write-up or response for that. We didn't get time to do that today. And I think when Joe gives his report on the stop sign, we can answer maybe some of this stuff. Anything else we haven't been able to answer, we'll answer at a future time.
Next we have Dan Meyer. The Sonoma vehicle exit gate does not open for bikes. Please fix. Thanks. Back in 2021, prior board member Mike Cohn had done a testing of all the gates and responded on what worked and what didn't. And the only gates that didn't work were the Tuscany ones and Porto. I sent that information that we had posted in a newsletter over to the homeowner, and he had said, nope, that does not work. So I reached out to Mike and I said, hey, by chance, have you recently gone through your bike through the exit gate? And he had said, yes, he does it several times a week, including this morning. To exit, I ride perpendicular to the roadway direction, AKA parallel to the gate. And I ride on the first cut in the pavement you encounter heading towards the gate. I'm going to be putting this in the newsletter, so you don't have to write this down right now. Okay. Furthest from the gate. He's like, if you remember a year or so ago, they redid the sensors at the exit, so you need to ride it on a different path. So I'm going to go ahead and post that information. There is still a way that you can ride your bike through the exit gate. And hopefully I'll be able to get a diagram that we used last time also to help you guys out with that. So there is hope. It can open. I have an email from Doug McClellan. I recently noticed that our community had been newly placed in an area deemed high fire risk. I found that a bit odd, as all we have surrounding us is grassland and other homes, all with stucco exterior and tile roofs. But I also heard that the state no longer allows us to plow the open space adjoining our property to act as a fire break. The good news, a friend informed me that she had found a resource that listed vineyards and olive groves as a good fire break. Anyway, I wonder if we should research this and have a plan for when some new fire regulations are finished and qualified. And again, thanks for doing the job. So obviously, we'll be looking into that.
John, do you or Cindy have any off the cuff comments that on this particular question, or we'll put in an answer?
Just quickly, his comment about it being in a high zone, it's actually not. The local police and the local people that keep an eye on those things, that it absolutely isn't. We do have some vines and olives that actually help us, so it's good. So it isn't, but I know it's intimidating. It can be.
And I do know that recently, Zillow in particular has a chart. Now, when you go to look at a home and they have a rating for high fire danger, et cetera, And they do list us as high, but, you know, people need to do a little bit more research when they're, so they just popped up and I was kind of surprised when I saw it.
Joe, I know you.
I was just gonna say, I know that the state has been working on updating their fire risk maps. And maybe that has come out for comment. That might be where this is coming from, so maybe we can follow up on the status of that.
We'll do some more research and get a more formal response back, but I just thought, given fire is always on everybody's mind, we should allay any fears as quick as we can.
And as far as all the homes are well bordered, we mow certain areas that are our responsibility. I know that the state is very reluctant to plow the fire breaks behind the state line fence. The argument being there's American heritage relics there.
Right, and the last one that we have is from Chuck. I am writing to request the removal of the semi-permanent advertising sign for Shea Homes from the median and sidewalk areas along Vineyards Parkway. As Shea Homes has nearly completed their sales, I believe they are no longer entitled to free advertising in our community. Maintaining these signs grants Shea Homes special treatment that is not extended to residents selling their own home. I kindly request that you arrange for the prompt removal of these signs as they have been displayed for an excessive period. Thank you for your attention to this matter. The Vineyards Parkway is owned by the city, and so the city has given Shea permission to continue having their signs posted. I'm not fully aware of their full agreement, but again, that is city property, and they have an agreement with Shea to allow them to have those signs up. So unfortunately, we don't have any control over those ones. And that is all I have.
Any other forum comments?
I did not receive any
cards?
cards, no.
Okay, then we'll move on to old business. Joe, could you, I know you've been doing a lot of work on stop signs, and I know they're 8-sided, and that's about the extent of what I know, so. Can you
Some of them have flashing lights too.
Okay, let's get
Actually, I did have a meeting with the city engineer this week. I have one every month with him. We talked about that. Originally, he told me he was going to be taking a new report to the city council on mid-February. That's now slipped out to the possibly April, May timeframe because their traffic engineer retired. They are in the process of having a on-call consultant to help them with traffic. They are going to retain 3. I accused him of trying to corner the market because I couldn't hire any because they kept saying we want to work for the city. They did commit to allowing me to meet with the consultant that they assigned this problem to go over our issues and concerns. Cindy and I have been working, Dave Gilbert working on a very extensive presentation on all the data and things that they've done to date, which I believe makes a pretty good case for a stop sign, which we will be trying to present to Susanna and Jovita or Jovita, depending on how you want to do it. But when this starts to come to a head, and this is the important part, we're going to come up with a way to renew our petition using MTL, attempting to get all members to sign on. And we will be setting up an event corresponding to the city council meeting because we'll be looking for about 100 homeowners to be there that night. So we're working on those 2 things. The fact that they pushed this out gives us more time to set them up. So we will be making a push for that stop sign. And I think, to me, it's beginning to look more and more positive that we can get there, but you never know with the city.
So Joe, I have a question for you. When you were talking to him, as you know, they're putting up a stop light at Cow Ranch here off Marsh Creek, which is what, 100 yards from Ewok. But we're struggling to get a stop sign. Did you happen to talk to him about that?
I did not talk to him about that. It is something that is out there. The issues that impact that are, number 1, that's county, not city.
Got it.
Number 2, the speed limit is much higher than it is. It's 50 miles an hour versus 35 miles an hour. So those are 2 key factors that go into that decision. And number three, the county probably learned from our experience.
Yeah.
And the trouble they're having, but definitely it's in the presentation we put together for the mayor and Oviedo.
Thanks, Joe.
Next on our list is the update on, Joe, the status of the, or Cindy, whoever's gonna take the lead on this, is the, update on the gates, the tour gate.
So Sonoma Gate has been finished, the tour gate is in progress, they've started work on the loop sensors, they expect to finish that this week. You may find as they start to work on the gate motors themselves, that the gate will be closed intermittently, you'll have to use St. Julian, there'll be signs or someone directly to that effect if it happens. But we should look to having this finished by the end of the week, I think. And then once this is all done and everything's working, and if we like this supplier, we'll be approaching them to develop a PM program for all the gates.
Thank you too for, enduring the wrath of many people on the gates. Next, I wanted to just give an update on the AV project. It doesn't look like it's done, but it's close to being done. There's still, the speakers have not been installed for a couple of reasons. We have some back orders on the subwoofers that are gonna go up there, which are not here at the moment. The wall speaker, where you can see the wires are hanging in the room, are available, but we're in the process of finding a new wallpaper for this material, for these walls here. That's not wood paneling, by the way, that's wallpaper. So we're gonna put new wallpaper up there. We don't wanna damage the new wallpaper with having to work around the speakers. So we're trying to coordinate all that. There's a couple of, we did a compliance to the contract review this week on Friday with the supplier as well as our consultant. And there's some things that we think were required in the contract that they don't. So we're working through that issue as well. So we're getting close, and it's still at or which was actually below budget, and this was a reserve project. I will say the new music players were installed, and I heard this morning that the people in the gym were upset because the music was not to their liking, and that I'll apologize for, but we have not fine-tuned the actual playlist yet. We have to do that on our own. The music players come with canned music in it, so you're getting what you get until we can get the playlist done. And Blue Stars and Will are working on kind of building that out. It's a Pandora company that's provided this, so we'll have more music sources than we could possibly imagine. But they just went in on Friday, so please bear with us. Next thing I wanted to give you an update on is the kitchen project, the conversion. And basically, the permitting is, I wouldn't say it's done, it's in the final stages, but what I've learned by this is once one agency makes saying this is done, the next agency says, oh, well, now I need to look at it again. So we're doing this back and forth between the fire department, the city, and the health department. Jamie and Vinny have been working on this, and the amount of, I don't know how they did this before email, but it's pretty amazing, all the stuff that we have to go through to get this right. The hood has been ordered, the contractor trainer is under contract. The logistics, we're working on all that, and particularly with Blue Star, we're going to keep the restaurant open while the back kitchen is being restored or converted into a real kitchen. So they're working on some different ways on how to keep people fed, if you will, and with drinks. So it's a lot of logistical work that we're all trying to work on. Lily and Dana and Katrina and Marky, they're all kind of balancing all this, and hopefully there'll be some new things that come out of this. So it's a work in progress. And then the logistics around the construction is mind numbing for me. Vinny just says that's how it's ordinarily done, but trying to make sure that the electrical and the plumbing, the mechanical guy and the installation all comes in on the same time as process. We actually demoed some stuff today. There's a hole in the roof of the kitchen, and we looked up there at all the spider web of pipes and cables and stuff like that, and we didn't see any big surprises. So the interior construction is going to start on the 24th. And then the completion will be on the 21st, and we'll turn to operations. And the budget is on track or favorable. So that's my update. The next item on our old business was a question that Claude had asked about some data from the vineyards. We were all set to present that.
Move your water bottle. Here, no, yeah.
Well, thank you. So we had planned to answer that question today, but we just got timed out. So I apologize for that, and we'll roll that over to the next meeting. We have the information, but we just hadn't had a chance to proof it all and make sure it was right. So bear with us. I think that wraps up old business. So we'll move on to the new business. This next item was, we had previously looked at it back in, I think, I want to say November, and it dealt with the handbook changes. And we had some time in this agenda, so I thought I would bring it up again to see where we go with it. But this is the issue surrounding, let me get the notes, I wrote these notes for you. Kind of the, the whole issue of, right now the handbook says it's a $500 fee annually, I believe, if you have a third member in the household who wants to be a member of the club and use the club facilities. And so we came up with this, the question is, that's probably underpriced if somebody's really using the facilities. If they're if they're using the facilities and using the gym and pickleball courts and things like that, that's probably undervalued. The problem is, not the problem, but the observation is, most of the people who are third people in the household are not putting a burden on the infrastructure. If your mother's living with you, I doubt she's going out and playing pickleball or using the gym or signing up for classes. She's, here because she wants to be with her family and cared for. So I proposed, this kind of two-part rate, if you will, and the theory being, if you were going to put a burden on the system, like use the gym and use the clubs, say your brother moved in with you and he's 55, he's very active and wants to use all the infrastructure, he's putting a burden on the system and should probably pay for that. The problem is we don't really have a good process on how to collect that, because remember, under the CC&Rs, any member can have a guest in their home for 60 days a year. So those are kind of some of the issues. So I put together this procedure here, which I have no idea is right or not, but I'd like to just kind of have a discussion again on this topic. It's not a big deal in the sense, it's not like there's thousands of people out there who are trying to move into our homes, but there's a small, very small subset, probably a handful or maybe two handfuls. But it is something we should think about for the future. And I just kind of throw it up and say, do we do anything? Do we leave it the way it is, or wait till it becomes a noticeable problem? So with that, I'll open it up for anyone to give us your input on that.
Well, you may remember that this came up right after I was elected to the board. My 90-year-old mother lives with us, and as Jeffrey said, she is not constrained on the pickleball courts and the bocce courts, and she does come up. We have added her as a signature on our member account with Blue Star. She does come up and eat. We go to events together, and that is the extent. My problem was when this was first proposed, is it was and I'm not clear how that 2,200 figure came out, but it was that for any third or fourth member in your home. I believe I was the one who said, everyone I know who has a third member is a 90-year-old parent or a caregiver or someone who's not here Yahoo to, go in and take advantage of our infrastructure. I am fine with a breakout as you have done it. Now, I would suggest that if someone never comes up, if they're an invalid or something like that, that we shouldn't charge. So you may have a 3-tiered system, but I am fine with it as it is laid out. I still would, I think the tenants or the HOA owners are owed an explanation of why the 2,200 number came up. But other than that, if it's tiered like this, I have no objection.
My thought on this, a comment you made is, they put a additional weight on the system. As few people as we have doing this, the people who live in this community are two people household. Some of them don't use any of the facilities. So to me, it evens itself out. It's not like, well, because of them, this is now excessive. I don't think it is. I think the fee that you suggest is too high. I think you have it divided into full and passive. I think the management of that would be
Painful.
Holy Toledo. We can't manage the guests that come in as it is. Because one of them says includes the use of unaccompanied, it'd be unaccompanied, that's full. And then the second passive is mostly accompanied. What? On a Tuesday? I mean, what, I just think it's unmanageable. I think the fee as it is now, is fine. And I don't think it should be changed because I don't think they put a whole lot of additional, weight and abuse on the community.
So a couple things. Jeffrey, you and I went back and forth a little bit. The $2,200 number comes from dividing the subsidy to the operation of the club of approximately $2.6 million by 1,065 homes.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where that number comes from. Now, each home does get 2 memberships. So you could say, all right, well, maybe it should be 1,065 divided by 2 also, maybe 11 or 1,200. But it was an attempt to recognize that people that have full use of the facilities ought to share in the burden of supporting them, just like the rest of us do. And so that's kind of where the numbers came from. The other thing that isn't mentioned in here, but I think we should be sure, is that we are only talking about qualified age, qualified disability, qualified residents. It's not your 21-year-old son who hasn't managed to launch. Yeah, that gets to stay here and be a member for $2,200 or $1,200 a year, whichever number you want to use. But I think that's appropriate to keep that in mind and make sure we catch that in the series here. And it is a little about accompanied or mostly accompanied, and sometimes we can clear that up a little bit. But I do think that to the extent we have people that are having full membership benefits, they should pay full membership support.
John, you
I do not.
short of the language, Cindy, your main concern is the language is not very
Well, I think
clear.
I think the language is confusing. I think the management would be confusing. The fee,
Yeah.
Joe just explained the fee. The 22 just seems so unbelievably high next to what it is now. It's a huge leap. At most, 1,000 in my opinion, and even that, like I said, I don't think they put a whole lot of, heavy weight on the community. We don't have that many. Do we have an idea of how many we have multi?
Only anecdotal. I mean, I know
Well,
a
that's
few
what I'm
people,
saying.
but I don't.
Yeah, I know one.
We'll actually have a better answer in the next couple months.
I was gonna say, maybe we should wait until we get that done with,
Well,
and then kind of look at it at that time to see exactly how many. And if they use it, don't use it, that's not up to us to
Yeah.
judge. They have the ability to use it. A lot of people in the community that have paid, they don't use it anyway. They just live in the community because that's what they want, and that's fine. So maybe we should wait till we get all of that back and then have this discussion again.
Well, Jenny, what I'll ask you to do is just put it on kind of a call up for like 6 months from now, or whenever you finish.
2 to 3, maybe.
Yeah,
what
2 to
you said.
3.
Okay.
I'll leave it to your judgment, and then we can look at it again. I'm not trying to make a problem out of something that's not a problem, but I do want to be mindful that it could be a problem. California housing isn't getting any easier. Okay. With that, we'll move on to the next item. I wanted to give you an update on the strategy document. So bear with me, get my notes out, please. we had our, planning meeting on the 30th of January. And I thought it went really well, because we got a good dialogue going, about it, and we had some, good discussions. But I will say, a lot of people pulled me aside and said, "You lost your mind." You know, they were polite about it. But basically, I think the caution I got from several people, and surprise, surprise, I got the same caution when I worked for a living. You know, you're trying to do too much, too fast. You need to bring people along, and the like. So with that, with counsel from, you know, a lot of people, want to step back a little bit now that we kind of got the, planning, genie out of the bottle. But this first slide is really just a restatement of our vision, missions, and values. I don't think it really, there's no change in this, nor is any change, you know, per se. What I don't want to do is get into a wordsmithing battle of this versus that. I think conceptually, it's what we strive to do, you know, and that's to basically maintain the experience that we all bought, make it a very desirable place, and treat people with respect, and be financially, you know, financially consistent. So I'm not suggesting we do anything, but just want to set the table for that. The key takeaways I got from the planning meeting, my observations and some observations from other people who watch or talk to, is that the board is really not aligned on a plan. And that's okay. I mean, you know, it's why we're going through this process, and so we can all get all aligned. There was a fair amount of feedback from many of the members, both positive, negative, which was, that's great. I'm glad people were listening and thinking about the subject. You know, the board is a big deal to this community, in the sense of not the individuals, but the leadership. Is we are the stewards of $1 billion that we don't own. I mean, it takes all the houses out there, you multiply it by $1 million, you know, some more, some less. That gets to $1 billion pretty darn fast. And what maintains that $1 billion value is what happens at this building up on top of this hill here. So, and the board has a lot of input in how that building is maintained and what it offers. So even though, you know, people think about our $10 million budget and stuff like that, which is, you know, I work with lots of companies who can have a $10 million budget, but there's $1 billion of stuff that we need to be mindful of. I think the other takeaway was that the community, the members, not members, many members want to be involved in the leadership of this organization. Not so much sit on the board, but want to have a say-so and a stake in what goes on with this community. And then not many people want to be on the board, which, you know, that's a whole other issue. But another issue I think is that communication is critical. It's not just communication ourselves, but I mean, communication with the members and member feedback is critical. And we need to have a more balanced approach. And you'll notice I have tried to eliminate the word strategic. And there's some things that we're talking about that are strategic, the why and the what. And there's a lot of things that are tactical. So the planning process is essential, no doubt about that. But what does it mean when we say to be, what does that mean to the board? What does it mean to the community? To me, it means I want people to come to Trilogy as their first choice. And they don't even think about other places, because 11 years ago when Cindy and I moved in, this was out in the boonies. It's still out in the boonies, but the boonies have gotten much farther out. So I wouldn't say we're the CBD yet, but the Central Business District, but we're clearly, our location is more desirable. If you want to live in the Bay Area, you know, this is the Bay Area. You know, Cinco Ranch or whatever that place up in Bickford Ranch is not the Central Business District. So there is a case for change. Competition for property is always a case. Ask any realtor. Everybody is competitive. We're not the new shiny object anymore. 10 years ago, this was all new and flashy and stuff, and it's not that anymore. We've done an incredible job maintaining it. Members have invested, allowed us to raise the dues, and so we can keep our reserves well, and we have a pretty robust maintenance program. We need to leverage our competitive advantage. If your kids live on the peninsula, you want to live here. You're not going to live in Stockton or Sacramento. And then we have this other issue is that the builder defect is just this kind of cloud, if you will, on the future. And we hope to get that resolved this year. And I said that last year, the year before, and COVID hit, and then but I do believe this year has a higher probability of being resolved than other years. So with that, I've kind of reiterated this already, is that the vision that I would say, not asking to change the word, but I think about, we want to make sure that the members consider this what they really want. We want it to be the community of choice, and all the members need to commit to making sure their property values stay high. In addition, the assets of the HCA should always be managed in a financially disciplined manner, and I think we do a really good job with that. And a lot of members, just to decide, they look at the financials and say, they look at any of us or other than people on the finance committee and say, are we doing okay? And we say yes, and they throw the financials documents in the trash can. So they rely a lot on the discipline that the board has and the finance committee has. And I think my vision is that this is the first choice of anybody who wants to be in a 55 active adult community. They should come here first, and that'll protect all our property values. So with that, I've kind of done a reset of breaking it into two different pieces. The first part I call it focus on the present. And a lot of that is some foundational things that we need to get done. The true opportunities for us increasing our profitability or more revenue is in the spa, the non-event business, and the bar. I think that's just, I don't think anybody would argue with that. That's where future money is going to come from. It's not out of our pockets. The other thing we need to do is deliver all our capital projects on time. We need to do the reserve projects on time. We need to really press on with the accessibility project, which we'll hear more about at the next meeting, I anticipate. The whole issue that we talked about before is the amending the CCNRs and particularly driving this NOLA initiative as a source of future capital from new buyers. That's still very important. I think investing in the staff. We have a wonderful staff. There's no doubt about that. Not just on the F&B side, the operations side, and they're really great. But I'd like to stretch them a little bit. I'd like the community, the board, and the community to kind of invest in them more, so they can give that back to us by knowing more. And that's not just on the Blue Star side; it's on management trust side. We need to make sure everybody's got the skills that they need to match the capabilities we want. Enhancing the wine and marketing and sales. We need to do, get the community involved in both education of what we're trying to do, marketing, the financials. I know Helen's really working on that to kind of streamline the process to get the data more simplified. We have so much drill down, nobody looks at it. We look at it, but we need to come up with these dashboards. The DRC does a great job. And if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But on the other hand, there's things on the horizon, particularly fire safety and things like that, that we need to challenge the DRC to keep us aligned. And I guess the last big thing is member engagement. I believe that we need to get members involved in advising us, doing some of the work. I can only speak for myself, but I think we can't do any more as far as leading projects and developing projects and doing initiatives. We're happy to provide guidance, but we need the community to participate in that. Next slide, please, Jamie. So the implementation plan is one of the things we need to do if we want to make this the first place of choice. Our marketing is non-existent. When you think about that, go look on MTL or Shane's website about Trilogy. It's still showing people that are in the pool that have been gone for a long time. Doesn't show anything about pickleball here. I mean, it's old. It's old. I mean, and we've got to be competitive in this environment to restore that new shiny object. So I think we need to invest the money in marketing so we can control the narrative. We want to be able to say why this place is great. If I've heard it from once, I've heard it from many new buyers They go, well, the realtor told me, and I didn't know. We need to fix that through, you know, the orientation process, and we need to promote this wonderful place that we have. So that's one thing I think that's a round four opportunity today to get people involved with. We need to engage the community in shaping this vision for the future. That's the focus groups and surveys and town halls, and John's going to give us his thoughts on town halls. And we need to, you know, the database that we have, just the raw data, the grinding part of communicating. We have some information through the databases that Jamie has in email distribution that Joe and Cindy have put together as far as license plate readers, but we don't have this skill set inventory. I've met some incredibly talented people here who said, oh, just ask, happy to help. But we don't know how to reach out to them. And I think it's not that hard. And we're not talking the people who want to be left alone. That's, you know, you're not, you don't have to do anything, but we have some people who want to help who are incredibly skilled and talented, and the board needs to guide them. And then I think just to leverage the whole communities, find those people, and then to leverage that talent. So that's kind of where I think the plan is at the moment. And I'd like to propose that we have some community engagement sessions, and we've, you know, identified these 2 dates here. Don't know if anybody's available. The room is available. That's all we know, is that the room is available on those days. And that's not the best time in the world. It's 7 to 9. I'm not ready to pack it in about 7. So with that, I'd like to have any discussion from the colleagues on what I've kind of reset, if you will, as far as planning. But to me, the real key is the community engagement process. We need to think about what we do in 26 and 27, but we got to get some of the base fundamentals groundwork done first. I mean, the capital projects we have in place, that's still moving forward and will continue to move forward. But I think we need to have a process for our planning going forward. So with that, I'll shut up. Any comments?
So a couple things I'll say. On your mission, vision, and values, I think they're becoming very flowery, and they become somewhat esoteric and not as concrete. We spent a lot of time getting them very short and specific for. So I would tend to suggest looking at that. And I see some concern about the word "to be." That's a colloquialism, but we could come up with. It's really, we want it to be a place we want to be. Okay, and whether we say "to be" or what, I'm not so hung up on that, but I would tend to keep them a little shorter, like they are. The idea of marketing Trilogy to California, I don't think that's our role. Marketing Trilogy to us and making sure everybody's aware of what we have and what we're doing, that makes sense. But the marketplace, the real estate world, will market Trilogy based on how well we're doing with what we've got here. I'm not really seeing us trying to convince people in San Jose that they ought to know about coming to Trilogy. Trilogy is here, it's for us, and the marketplace will address that. So there's just a couple of thoughts there, and then we can work through some of the others.
Just for clarity, I'm not saying we're marketing it, but I'm saying that I want to make sure that the people who come out here get the information, the right information, and they know what a special place this is. I'm not suggesting we go on Channel 4. If the HOA wants you to come buy a house out here, not at all. I want to make sure that the property values reflect the fact of what this place is. And when they come out here, I want the realtors to have the facts of what's here. I mean, some of the realtors are very honest and trustworthy, and others are, from San Marino or someplace around. They don't know us from the man on the moon, and they're just selling selling. But that's just my thoughts.
Well, if you want to focus a little closer, like what you're saying, that might have some value. I definitely don't want to be on Channel 4 We originally, Blue Star had some publicity photos that they could give out to the realtors.
We'll stay on.
We have a couple of pamphlets and books and things, if we wanted to spruce that up a little bit, but not get too carried away, it's okay, but I think we want to be more focused.
Yeah, just a quick question. The vision, mission and values, you have like 2 slides on that. One is what it is now, and then you said this is how you feel.
Well,
But
yeah.
you're not asking to change what we have now. You just went into detail.
I was
You
trying to,
think
you
it
know,
is.
why I said what I said on the other
Okay,
slides.
so,
I'm not suggesting we change anything,
okay,
you know, but I think, you know, we all have our version of what to be means. Well, I'm not suggesting changing, but I just want to give you some context.
okay. I just didn't know if you wanted them changed
No,
to
no,
that because that was a little long-winded, but I think it was because it's just explaining
Right.
what this was.
I am a
Okay.
little long-winded, yes.
Okay, yeah. And then when we talk about to be, you're not to be, when we talked about that initially, I was on the HOA, so, you know, from 2019, 2020, when we changed the language to be, we had a discussion about it at that time, like what does to be mean? And we knew, man, this is the only place to live, type of a thing. We may be able to put something else in as opposed to be. But it also is a place that we want to stay. I mean, we bought into it and, you know, we just want to keep it going and this is the only place that you want to live. As to, talking about sales, if you think back to when you and I bought, Shea was selling the homes. So it was a Shea agent and they knew all about it, the community, the company, the ins and outs, what was in each home and why it was in each home. And then when Shea gave it all to us, and then we now have outside people selling. We have some steady agents that know this community because they live in the community. But I'm going to give you a quick example. The woman beside me is selling. She had an agent that was, oh, I shouldn't say she lived beside me because now you might know who it is. And then my next sentence will be like, oh my God. Let's just say maybe she didn't know enough about the community as she should have. Luckily, I was walking by and I happened to just, because I'm a little nosy. Thankfully, I did because what she was telling the people, no, that's not it. So I think maybe getting to the agents is something we may want to focus on. But as to MTL and digital and things like that, again, that's something that the teams do, that we pay them to do. So we can ask them to change out photos because it is all like that. So that's my only comments on this. Oh, and then as to the town halls, you and I quickly talked about that. You and I quickly talked about that. Okay.
I had similar comments regarding the mission statement that Joe mentioned. You know, I looked through it again after we brought it up at the planning meeting, and I don't see anything there that, you know, for me to, you know, want to look at an inherent, some big change. It just seems to flow really well. A lot of time was spent on that. I think that was my first year on the board when it got changed. And I think the way it flows and the language in it is good. I think we have so many other things on your list that we really need to address. But I'm fine with maintaining what the current mission and value statement says.
I mean, my only observation is that I'm not suggesting we change the words either, but it's most mission statements are very aspirational. You know, this is something that we want move forward. That's very static. But on the other hand, it's just wordsmithing. I don't think it adds a lot of value changing it. Helen?
When I think back over the planning meeting, it was a good meeting. There was a lot of exchange that was done back and forth. The mission statement, I mean, yeah, don't wordsmith it, don't wordsmith it. I mean, it's there. The thing that really jumped out to me is how many folks who were at the meeting, you know, were excited about the possibility of getting some projects, some programs going that have absolutely zero cost to them. You know, we talk about, oh, real estate information and sales agents. I don't care so much about how the sales process or our marketing process is. I care that when people move here, they don't know what to do. We don't have a great orientation process. And there has been a lot of buzz after that meeting from people who have shared their experiences in other trilogies that they lived in or other over 55 communities. I mean, I think we've got a chance to get some things, a community-based program driven by our community members, really popping. Some other things that came out during the meeting were NOLA and the CCRs. And now that we don't have that Tuesday board meeting, we can refer people to, you know, we're gonna have to start that discussion again for people to see it. You know, moving our capital project decision-making out into the community. I mean, there are a lot of things we can do. I would rather focus on how we push to the community and get the community more involved in programs than I would, you know, so much about the mission statement.
No,
I think it's good.
so, John and I talked about a town hall, or just somehow to get with the members to get some direct feedback, not in an open forum, but just a dialogue. And the town hall is a great way to do that, as long as it's topical. It can't be a bitch session. I mean, it's got to be focused on, you know, 2, 3, 4 things that we can get off the ground quickly with some member support. So, John, can you just kind of walk us through your thoughts on how you might structure a town hall meeting?
Well, kind of the genesis of it too is, unlike board meetings, when there's an open forum, it's not a dialogue. The sad thing about, and it's done in public commissions as well, residents or members have an opportunity to provide a comment or ask a question to the board, but we're not allowed to provide feedback or even answer your question. So the open forum doesn't provide what our members are really looking for, and that is we want to be able to ask a question, get a response, have some sort of a dialogue. So town halls provide at least a forum where members can ask a question, make a comment, and we in turn can provide a response. And it's something we can't do at the board meeting. To the point of the topical, I agree. If it's open-ended, you can go different ways. One way is just totally open. Members can say anything they want, ask any question they want on anything they want. And then it turns into be, well, what did we get out of this meeting? A second one that I think has value is we just had a planning meeting, and a number of points have come out of it, including some of the ones you summarized tonight, Jeffrey. So questions are focused on, hey, this is what we talked about the planning committee, the orientation, member involvement, this, that, and the other. And the questions can stay focused on the planning piece of it. That means we can, engage on something that's focused. The other one that I don't favor but is used is you can have a topical discussion on that night it's finance. Maybe the next night it's lifestyle. Maybe the next time you do it is whatever. And that's very specific. So of the 3, I think focusing on what we're talking about now, planning, would make the most sense. That's what I would favor. The other thing is when we have something like a town hall, there has to be some sort of rules of engagement. You can have people come up and ask a question, and sometimes they can go on forever. So my experience has been, you allow the member to come up and at least have 3 minutes to either ask a question or make a comment. And Jamie, I want to put you on the hook here. I would recommend that somebody like yourself or Stacy would time it. And any board member or board, if the question is asked of the board, then Jeffrey can have the opportunity to ask a member of the board to respond. Or the question could be directed to a board member, like myself on whatever, like viticulture. Maybe there's a question for Cindy on safety that people may have that they've wanted to ask. So that response now can come directly from the board member. And I think the other thing that has worked for me in the past in town halls is if you have a follow-up question or comment, you get 1. Because what happens if it's not limited, there can be a member that can go on for 10, 15, 20 minutes, and that now prevents anyone else from the community to be able to ask a question themselves. So that's kind of my suggestion as far as the topical and the format as far as rules of engagement. And as Jeffrey said, we have reserved this room here on the 19th and the 13th of March. I booked it for 7, but we can do 6:30 to 9. 6:30 to 8. We can do whatever. I pretty much have it for the night. I know that we've had some in the past in the daytime, but we do have members of our community that still work. So having it around dinner time, you can go to Alice's before you come here. I just think it provides more of an opportunity for more members to be able to come. And that's really all I had to offer.
So I'd like, does anybody have any opposition to having a town hall meeting to talk about a targeted set of tasks that at a planning meeting? Is that something we should do? I think it personally is, but I'd like a discussion from
How many do you envision having? Is it topical when a topic comes up? Is it once a month? Is it?
Well, all I'm worried about right now is just for the planning process to try and get some people engaged, particularly on, do we want to have a orientation committee? Do we want to have a communication committee? I mean, do we want to have a technology focus? I'm trying to get some dialogue from people. Understand, does somebody want to work on a database for, skill sets? I mean, so I really want to, try and see what the community wants. So I'm not suggesting anything more than just focused on the planning process. If it's successful and we get a lot of feedback, maybe we do more throughout the year. I know I proposed a year or so ago about doing one a month, and we never made a lot of progress on that. So I'm just really focused on the planning process so we can all get on the same page of what is the focus on the present that we need to do. And then, eventually transition to focus on the future of what we want to do.
And have we talked to the teams to see if late evening meetings would be conducive to the schedule that they have as well? You said 7 o'clock, you scheduled this, so you knew about this. You guys have talked about this. So have we talked to Jamie's team and Stephen's team?
No.
Okay.
And that's the point of, talking tonight, how we want to talk through this. But there is one other thing I want to comment, Cindy, is you'd asked would be others. I would like to have a town hall meeting at some point in the next quarter, or at least soon, to talk about NOLA, because I think that's a really important topic coming up in 2025. So when you say, would there be others? I would like to advocate that we do that one at least. Yeah.
I definitely think town halls should be for a specific topic. They are either to gather information or provide information. And we actually went through a number of big town halls when we were talking about whether we take over the vineyard management and what the benefits and drawbacks would be to that. And there were a lot of discussions that were useful.
And the annexation too.
The annexation was another one. And so I think they need to be focused on the topic. Yeah.
And Jeffrey, my feedback to you is I think the 19th is kind of close in, given that we don't have a set agenda and know exactly how we're going to approach this. But I think it's a fine idea. I just think we're not quite ready for it.
And that's fine, I picked a couple of dates to try to get the ball rolling. But now that, we're talking about this and here it is February 10th, right? So to try to make sense of this and do it really well, I think what I'd like to do is keep I think it's the 13th of March. I'd like to keep that one. And then it gives time to actually work on how we want to do this, get the word out to the members, give members more than 9 days notice. And then subsequent to that, then I would look to schedule the NOLA meeting, and that would be maybe 6 weeks, 8 weeks later, something like that. But I can let Annalise and Tony know that we'll give up the 19th in case others want to use it, and focus on the 13th of March. And to your point, Cindy, I did not talk to anybody other than just getting a date, but I will reach out to Scott, and particularly Zeb, set up the room, Dana as well, and see what concerns they might have, if any. But that's a good call. I have not done it. And Jamie, yes, of course.
Okay, so what I guess the takeaway is we will move to our meeting in March. We'll try to reserve a date for April or specifically for NOLA. The next board meeting will come back with kind of an agenda for that topical discussion,
Yeah.
and get everybody to kind of sign off on that.
Mhm.
And then also, the board doesn't have to facilitate this thing. You know, we could have members do that just as, throw there. And so if anybody else wants to facilitate it, you know, that's certainly something we might want to consider as well. I mean, we do not have a lock on all the intellectual capability in this community. You do, Helen, but not me.
I don't disagree with that inherently, but if we're trying to engage in a dialogue with our members, and I want to know, you know, if it's topical, I'd like to know what what their feedback is on the topic. I would rather be engaged with that than
No,
have a
I'm
third
not-
person.
I'm not suggesting, I'm just saying somebody to facilitate the dialogue. You know, I've seen that work very effectively before, putting us on the spot, putting the member on the spot, to kind of make sure we get the communication properly. So anyway, just a thought.
Well, I was just thinking of the town halls Joe and I hosted for the gate situation.
Uh-huh.
I can laugh about them now. No, it was actually, we got it down to a science. I mean, we actually did quite a good job and we've had a lot of positive feedback on that as well. So it is absolutely doable. You have to be focused. You have to not deviate from what you came in to do. At the same time, allowing people to ask questions, and people have lots of questions.
Okay.
So it's definitely something we can do typed up.
So we'll start working on the agenda, and then the marketing and communications of, the March, meeting. If you mark your calendars, I'm thinking about my calendar. Okay. Okay. Moving right along. We had an emergency, approval, Helen, or John, one of you guys will talk about what we
Just a pump.
approved.
I don't have it up in front of me.
Indoor pool pump.
Yeah,
It was
the
the
indoor
indoor
pool
pool
pump
pump.
went out. We had to close the pool. And so they immediately found the part and were able to have it in and installed very quickly. It was about $2,000. And so John and I gave our emergency approval.
Do I have a motion for approval or ratification? To ratify this decision that was made by the Emergency Approval Committee?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
The motion passes 5-0. John, you want to give us an announcement or the resignation from the Viticulture Committee?
Yes, one of our committee members, Norm Petermeyer, who most of you know, has resigned from the Viticulture Committee to devote time to other things. So I move, and he's done a great job. We would be nowhere here without Norm's expertise, not only in viticulture, but in the Amici Wine Club, where he's also made decisions on. And I don't know where we'd be with either one without Norm's contribution. He's an incredible
Yeah, I
person.
will certainly miss Norm's college, if you will, of
Yeah.
the winemaking and all. I learned a lot from
And so will the club, so will the
yeah,
club.
I know a lot of that's online, I think, so
Yeah,
anyone who's interested in, you know, how the wine business works, Norm's got some great slides out there, so I do thank him and Stephanie both for the service he put into the community. Do I have a motion to, or should I have I have a second. Any further discussion?
Just a big thank you.
Yeah,
yes.
thank you, Norm. With that, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Norm. Last item of new business is Finance Committee. Helen, you want to lead us through that discussion, please?
Sure. We have a member on our committee, Steve Signoff. Steve has been on the Finance Committee for years now, numerous terms, and was always planning to leave when his term was up in October. However, with the new Finance Committee that we put together, we are reassigning so many different roles and so many different committees that Steve thought it might make sense for him to step back now and get another new member in so we can kind of rejigger all at once, which is fine. He's still here. He'll still give us input. So we are now hiring to replace Steve on that committee. We had 2 candidates submit their resumes. Jim and I interviewed both, and our strong recommendation is that Martin Berry be named to the Finance Committee. He's got all the right qualifications, a can-do attitude. We think he'll be a great addition.
I didn't see anything in my packet about him was it him? I mean, I don't know who this individual is. We didn't have anything in the packet.
I thought there was a page, didn't you, Liz?
No, about his bio.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah,
No.
it's, have we done that before? I just don't remember.
I don't think you typically do you, Jim?
Nice.
We do.
We do? Okay, shame on us. We'll get you. that.
Yeah, I
After the fact.
imagine this gentleman's fabulous. I just don't know who he is.
Martin is,
Yes.
If we can share that in executive committee
Yeah.
following this,
Yeah.
can we take the vote then, or do we have to do it now?
We can do it now.
I mean, Cindy's not prepared. I mean,
Well, I mean,
Yeah,
no, I'm not trying to put you on the
I
spot,
no,
Cindy.
I totally get it. But you know how I felt about this packet to begin with, and it's just something else that I didn't have that I'm able to make a decision on because between things coming late and not having a full packet. Now, I do have faith in the finance committee. I do have faith in Helen's opinion and Jim's opinion. I don't think they would lead us into something that we shouldn't do because then we'll come and haunt you to the day you die. I would just have liked to have something else so I could feel good about my decision. But I am basing this on Jim and Helen.
But Cindy, I'm sorry, I don't want to put you on the spot, so we'll just, maybe we can do this in executive session to get to the documentation, or we'll do it,
we would like to have that position filled
I know.
because
Yeah.
we're in a
Without a
very,
doubt.
Well-
And I'm not, none of this is
Yeah,
meant to hold it up,
understood.
and I'm saying I'm basing it on Jim and Helen.
Well,
To,
okay.
So to move, I'm gonna make a motion that Mark Berry be approved for the finance committee.
Do I have a second?
I'll say.
Okay. Any further discussion? Noted Cindy's observation about not being in the packet, and I'll take responsibility for that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries. With that, we've solved the agenda for this session. In a little over an hour, so that's good. Our next meeting of the board is on the 25th at 4 p.m. in this room. We'll have the next member appeals meeting on March the 10th, if there's enough business to warrant having such a meeting. And we'll have the board of directors meeting, executive session also on March 10th. And then on March 19th, we'll have a town hall, which we should have.
19th.
March 13th, thank you. Thank you. Then with that, I think we're adjourned.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great rest of your day.